So one of the things that we have found as an external consultant, and I think we saw in one of the last sessions that we had, that external consultants are sometimes seen as a little easier maybe to trust or a little more trustworthy. And sometimes when you're the internal, like I am now, it's a little more skeptical. We think about what is one of the most important things that you can do as a practitioner in any area of expertise. So when you think about trust, what Green and company say is that trust is a factor of your credibility. Can you do what you say you're going to do? Do you have experience doing what we're talking about achieving or accomplishing or doing together? The second component is reliability. So if you add your credibility to reliability, and reliability means exactly what you think it means. Do you do what you say you're going to do? Do you do it on time as promised? And this third component, rather, of this is intimacy. And what Green and company mean is that, do you understand the client's goals? So from the client's perspective, do you understand my goals?
I have a quick question, if you don't mind, folks. In the environment that we are currently in, where intimacy it's through a camera, how does that work out? My L&D team is pretty well dispersed. They are pretty much all remote. So getting that face-to-face time to actually sit down and shake someone's hand, it's unlikely to happen anytime soon. So any recommendations to build trust and faith in a virtual environment?
What I've been doing, frankly, is setting up 15-minute meetings with some of my internal clients to get their input or ask for their advice on something, just a quick 15 minutes. So you might have to do it a little differently. You might find that it's easier to right now for reliability and credibility. But I think you have to find ways to do it, whether it's a virtual lunch where you all get together and half an hour and have lunch and get to know each other, or something fun that you can do online at the end of the day if people are willing to do it, whether it's a trivia piece or something like that. We've got some teams that are doing trivia. What happened this week, 15-minute trivia, just a chance for people to get together.
That was a great lead into this discussion about contracting, because we were talking about basically creating conditions where you can actually come into an engagement working with a client. And we're curious to know what you think should be included in a contract to perform some learning and development consulting services. So it really includes establishing and documenting all the agreements, and it's where you're really trying to define problems. You're trying to identify those stakeholders and resources, but clarifying the expectations, defining the boundaries, and also setting a timeline.
Yeah, so we're talking about this first engagement that you're having with the client, right? So of course, that first client meeting is going to be extremely crucial for you to do a lot of the homework as you enter into that contracting phase, right? So one of the key tasks to manage in advance of the meeting are documenting what you already know, right? So often pre-analysis, or even given your own expertise or own experience with the client, will allow you to identify some points up front, right? So this ties back to what Janice was talking about with the elements of trust, right? Ensuring that you show your credibility.
I'm curious, what process do folks on here have? Do you have an intake request form? Do you have an intake process? How are folks getting those requests?
We had it when previous organization I was in, we would have it where it's just really informal as for internal consulting, right? Not external consulting, but internally we would have all these random groups of the organization reaching out with different requests they had. And we would huddle as a team and then figure out what's the best approach on how we work with them. But it felt a little chaotic for a couple of different reasons. So we identified an intake request kind of process and form that asked a lot of these questions up front to help, one, with getting some of those initial questions, but then also as a team, as a talent management team, then be able to kind of really scope out the whole body of work and map it out. And then also have some of those initial questions answered with the client. So when you're meeting with it, help to really accelerate that intake discussion.